That's really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't even put my phone away at night when I go to bed because now my phone has become an integral part of going to bed because I control my bed with my phone.
Oh my
So,
gosh. Yeah.
yeah. So I
See?
control the temperature of my bed with my phone. So if I get hot, I can turn it down. If I get cold, I can
Mhm.
turn it up, And my bed wakes me up too because my bed is the alarm and I set that alarm on my phone. So, um
So, once again, to go back to that question, at what point are we so dependent on technology that it's not good anymore? Because technology can be used for good, and a lot of people do use it to improve and make their lives more efficient, but at the same time, like, take that technology away, what are we left with? Like, can we function? Can we continue functioning and being productive without
I
the
don't know. It's a
technology?
good question. We're recording now. So,
Oh.
let's talk about this. I think this is an appropriate beginning to our entire show.
Absolutely.
Um,
Oh my goodness.
yeah. By the way, as an aside, I was thinking about this, and I should have probably asked you this in Slack instead of here. But I want us to commit to 2 years of this show because I don't think we will reach any milestone worthy until after 2 years. So,
Oh, yeah, let's do
yeah.
that. We
So,
will
2 years of
find
this.
things to talk about.
Oh, I'm
I
not worried
don't
about
doubt
that.
that.
It
Yeah.
just might take us 2 years to have somebody listen twice, is kind of what I was
Right,
thinking.
exactly.
That we're
Right.
not married to or related to. Um,
Yes, yes.
by the way, up to that point, we'll know that we've made it when my mom listens. And speaking of tech, when my
Oh,
mom figures out how to listen, right?
yep.
Um, no insults to moms in the
That
world.
is a great milestone because it would be the same. Like, my mom loves to listen to the radio and TV shows and things like that, but she hasn't quite grasped the concept of podcasts. When I tell her that,
Right.
oh, it's like a story that you listen to, but they're interviews, they can be exactly that, stories or whatever, and she's just like, I don't understand. So you just listen? You're listening to people talking?
Right. Yeah, it's like when you talk to someone that doesn't watch documentaries about documentaries, and they're like, "Is that?"
Oh my
My mom said
gosh.
this to me once. Is that thing where people just talk the whole time? Because I like it when there's things going on, and I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, that's a drama, and a documentary and a podcast are kind of the same, so probably don't even bother." Yeah. Um,
Right. Oh my goodness.
right. Yeah.
Well,
No, I
let's talk
know.
about tech because that was
Sure.
the whole
Do you want to?
reason for the topic, right? Like, tech
Do you
in
want to talk
general.
about the fact that I'm holding my microphone and we're doing this show on my $20 mic versus my $1,000 microphone? I mean,
Well, let's talk about that. So, in relation to just life, right? Not just business,
sure.
but life in general. When you involve tech, there's an additional
Mhm.
layer of complexity that gets added. And whenever that happens, something that you think would be really straightforward and easy becomes not straightforward and easy. So, let's use this as an example. What happened today, Renee?
Yeah. Well, I don't really know. But basically, for some reason, my microphone decided not to work, even though I tested it multiple times and made multiple recordings with it. Right now, it's not working. And the funny thing about that is two things. One, what I miss more than anything from the corporate world, which I've been out of for over 10 years, um, is IT. Because you become your own IT, your own tech person,
Yes.
right? Um,
Yep.
so like right now, the decision that you have to make, and as you get more and more into this, I think IT and tech can become a distraction. But sometimes you just have to come up with a solution, which is why I'm sitting here holding this
Yes.
microphone. Because it's like, well,
That's
if we
right.
want to get this done, you got to just find a way to work around it, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Like they say in
so
Mythbusters,
why
failure is always an option, right?
failure is the only way, especially with tech. I mean,
Yes.
if you think about what you do with your business, how often does tech become a hurdle that you have to overcome in a single day?
Oh, all the time. Like, it's a constant battle with tech. You think, oh, this piece of technology is going to make things so much more efficient, so much easier, but you don't think about what it takes to set it up in the first place to make
Yeah.
it easier and more efficient. And then the maintenance part of it, because you need to keep up with it in order to make sure that A, it's still working, and B, that it's actually doing what you want it to do.
When you think of tech, do you put passwords in that same category?
I never really thought about it until you just asked me right now.
Yeah, yeah.
But in that sense, yeah, I would include passwords like logins and things like that as part of your tech.
I think
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
because I think it's the biggest part. Like, we just hired 3 new people, and the biggest challenge that I've had is passwords and logins, especially when you
Mm.
start, changing countries involved.
Oh,
I feel like it's a big
right.
challenge, right? If you have an overseas VA, for example. I just ran into a problem with Pinterest, where the people that I just hired are in the Philippines, and we use Pinterest.com, but it defaults to Pinterest.ph there. And so
Oh,
little things like that start becoming, in my mind, the same as tech, because if it involves the computer, I consider it tech at this point, even if it's digital.
yeah.
Because I think maybe there's multiple forms of tech. There's the physical tech, the like we're
Mhm.
dealing with the microphone issue, and then there's the digital tech, like your
Yeah.
password manager. We were just talking about that before this, about password managers, and to me, password managers are tech.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, I
I don't
mean,
know.
now that you're making me think about it,
Yeah, yeah.
tech is really any tool. So whether it's a physical tool, a digital tool, if it is a tool that you utilize, to me that is tech. And that's part of troubleshooting and, you know, being your own IT support and things like that, because once again, first of all, you have to figure out how to work it, and then you have to figure out how to teach other people how to use it too properly
And then how to manage it.
and how to manage it exactly.
Yeah. So you're right. I haven't really thought about it until we're talking about it now, but saying it out loud, I definitely think that password management, tool management, because we're having some new websites built right now, and oh my gosh, did you upgrade this license? Did you do this thing? And I tend
Mm,
to, when I'm telling somebody, hey, I can't answer right now because I'm working on a tech issue, I'm generally referencing something of that nature, and I didn't even realize
right.
how much I'm rolling into that tech phrase. But as a digital
Yeah.
entrepreneur, I guess it could be different versus somebody who owns a manufacturing shop or a car wash.
Yeah. No, absolutely, because I'm thinking about it in terms of the differences in my clients, because I do have the online businesses that I work with, and then I have brick and mortar businesses, right? And the definition of tech in each industry is really different. So if one of my clients that has a brick and mortar business calls me and says, I have a tech issue, they are talking about electronics, like a
Right.
computer or the phone system. They're not talking about, oh, this tool, this application isn't working correctly. That's not a tech issue to them. To them, it's the physical thing, not
So if
the
somebody calls in
application.
about a phone issue in that instance,
Hmm.
aren't phone calls, see, I don't have a home phone or an office phone, so I don't really know, but aren't they digital now too?
Most of them, yeah, they're voice over IP, so they're VoIP lines. Typically, you need an internet connection to make it work. You have a couple of places that still have the old school, like actual coax line type
Wait, wait,
situation,
wait,
but
wait, wait. Wait, wait, wait. Pause, pause, pause. You need an internet connection to make your phone work at an
yes,
office now?
yes, yes, you
That's
do.
crazy. So
Yeah.
even in that scenario, in my, I measure all things by what if The Walking Dead happened?
Hmm.
Um, the phone wouldn't work?
Yeah.
I thought
So
the
we have
phone was so. Wow.
Okay, so we have clients that are in healthcare, right? Healthcare industry.
Mhm,
We're talking doctors'
mhm.
offices, things like that. So the phone lines are the number one priority because that is how patients reach out and book their appointments, get their results, all that kind of stuff, right? So if
Right.
there is an internet outage in the building or in that area, their phone lines are down. They have,
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
yes,
I
they
had
have a backup phone line. It's a different number, but basically on the back end of the system, we have to remotely, thankfully, because it's all cloud based, right? So we log in remotely and redirect the phone lines to go to the landline, which is one phone inside of the work like the there's like a back office area, so there's a phone in the back
yeah.
office area that's the one landline that is the rollover, and that's where somebody is standing there just like answering the phones. So instead of it being proliferated throughout the office so multiple people can access it, if the internet is down, they go down to one phone. Same thing with faxes. Did you know that faxes are all digital nowadays?
Shut up. No. Really? This
Yes.
is
So
how
if
far removed I am from the physical space, by the way, because now everything like, if the internet goes down here, that's the end of my day. I might as well go to bed. I can't watch TV. I guess my phone still works because it's still a phone that's connected through the towers because it's a cell phone,
right, right.
but that's it,
Yeah.
right? Um,
Yep.
I can't do anything. There's so much now that's in I had no idea. I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
fascinating.
like these are technologies that, when there are younger people that start working in the office, like their minds are blown when they find out, what do you mean it only goes down to one line? Like, can't you just connect that and then make it work through the other computers? It's like that's not how it works. Like you have one
Interesting.
physical line. If you want multiple phones to ring, then you have multiple line, like literal cables. And that concept is just so hard for them to understand because that's not how they grew up. They've grown up with the internet of everything. So can you imagine? Can you
No.
imagine if we were in a zombie apocalypse?
Yes, absolutely. Um, which also means in case of emergency at a doctor's office, there's only one phone line somewhere in a back office that you gotta run to call 911.
Well, I mean, you could use your cell phone, but
Oh, right, I keep forgetting about those, yeah.
yeah,
I
so
mean,
people have cell
honestly,
phones.
I forget that my cell phone is a phone. I know that sounds funny, but
Yeah, right.
the most I make a phone call, because I ignore almost every phone call that comes through because it's spam,
Same.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. Um, I think spam phone calls are the new spam emails now. Remember how when the email
Or
first came
chain
out, there
letters.
w Yes! Oh my god. Totally. But I have a new thing that's been happening to me. I wonder if this has been happening to you. I get a spam
Uh-oh.
phone call because everyone wants to loan us money for some reason related to 2020. Like, if you had
Mhm.
employees in 2020, blah, 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 right? I don't know if you're getting those calls,
Yeah.
but now they
Yep.
follow up with a text message. They're like, "Well, I noticed you didn't answer
Oh,
my
yeah.
call,
Yep.
but they text me this stuff." And I'm just like, "What
Yes.
the hell is this?" Right?
S
So,
so the increase in text spam that I have been receiving has been incredibly significant. Um, Now my phone will filter it for me, which is great, but at the same time, there are a couple that'll sneak through the filters, like it's not automatically marked as spam, so I have to flag it as spam, but the fact that I have to do that for a text message, like it's going to turn into, because in the past, it started off with, I guess, emails. No, phones. It started off with phones. You would get the telemarketers calling and then you just hang up on them.
right,
Then it
right.
turned into email. And so you get spammed with emails. So you just delete or filter it as spam. And then now it's text messages. So at what point do we start shying away from answering text messages? Because, like you said, you don't even answer your phone anymore. And honestly, like when I call my friends, I text them first. I text them and I say,
Right.
"Hey, do you
Who
have a
calls
second? I
without
need to call
texting
you."
first? Yeah, totally. Who calls someone without texting them first? What is that?
Oh, yeah.
That's like showing up at
Yeah.
somebody's door, you know? Yeah,
And if I do
it's
call
very
my friends without texting them first, they think that it's an emergency. They're like, "Oh my god, is everything okay?"
absolutely,
And I'm
what's
like,
wrong?
"Yeah, sorry. I was in the car and I couldn't text you first, but I figured it was easier for me to just call." And they're like, "Are you insane?"
Well, also, let's talk about something else you just said there. Your friends. You're a digital entrepreneur. How do you have friends? Who has time for that?
Oh. You have friends. I have friends. Everyone has friends.
You're my friend. You're it. That's it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
No, but you're
yeah,
right.
okay.
You've got to make the time. Like I have become very intentional about reaching out to, real people because I have a
Oh,
tendency to
yeah.
turtle. Like I will
Yeah.
turtle for long periods of time and it's not intentional. Like it's not on purpose or it's not because I have been overwhelmed or anything like that. It's just I get lost in my own little world and I forget that there are people outside of my bubble.
Immediate yeah. Well, and you're
Yeah.
also a parent, so, you have that on top of it
Oh, yeah.
too, so
Yes,
I
the
but I do think
kiddos.
maybe kids also help stimulate friendships too because you have to go to birthday parties and things like that,
Yes, I will
and
say that if it
activities.
weren't for the kids having activities together because, one multiple friends, like, our kids are all in activities together. That's honestly the number one reason that we see and talk to each other as much as we do is because the kids' activities bring us together. Um, but if it weren't for that, like I had to think about, oh, well, when was the last time I reached out to, so and so? Oh, it's been a couple of months. And then you really think about it and it's like, no, it's been more than just a couple of months.
Yeah, I run into the issue, I think about my friends, and I really wanna talk to them, but I realize that it's one of 2 things. It's either the middle of the day, and it'll take longer because I wanna catch up than, I feel like I have time for, so I push it, and then
Mm.
I think about it again when it's time to go to bed, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's funny, Andy and I talk about this a lot, but I think this is the consequence of our current circumstances. When Amanda was
Hmm.
younger, before she was out on her own, we definitely were more social when we had a kid at home. So yeah,
Yeah.
but that has nothing to do with technology. That's just how the conversation spirals. Um, if somebody were starting a new business, I know. So if somebody were starting a new business or they were thinking about it, what would you say to them is a good rule of thumb for dealing with technology? Like if you had to give them a tip about general how to deal with technology, would you put rules around it for them? Would you have because I think you can get lost on it. Buying
Yeah.
it,
No,
everything.
that's a really great question because I mean, in the beginning, especially, it's so easy to become really overwhelmed and sucked in to all of the shiny objects, right? Like shiny object
Yeah,
syndrome is absolutely a thing because you think in order for me to make my business work or run or be successful, I need X, Y, and Z. Or, this successful person uses all these things. So I need to have all of those things, but you don't because
yeah,
at the core of everything, business is about connection. So making sure that you focus on the connection portion and utilize technology as the tool to be able to
right.
connect. I think that's the fundamental thing. Like, don't get caught up in, I need to build a funnel and I need to build an email sequence. No, you don't need to do that. You just need to make that connection and then build on that. And that's how your business grows.
So you're saying that you don't need the latest iPhone?
I mean, sure. Do you
Right, right. See,
need an excuse to buy the latest iPhone? Because I can give you that excuse. I will happily. allow you.
Yeah, yeah.
No, no. No, you definitely don't need the newest iPhone. I mean, it's kind of like, so with our kids are still relatively young, you know, they're in elementary school. Well, one's in elementary, one's in intermediate, but they've they've had cell phones, their own cell phones for about a year now. And my husband and I,
Oh,
we wrestled with the thought of, do we give them a cell phone? Do we not? Are they too young? Are we starting them on such an addictive technology too early? You know, like these are
yes,
very
yes, you are.
real conversations. Yes, absolutely. Right. So we had to come up with rules, but at the same time, you know, we weren't going to buy them the newest iPhone. You know what I did? I went on woot.com. I found
Yeah,
refurbished iPhones that were several generations back that were only a couple of $100, and that's what they have. It works for their needs, which is text messaging and making phone calls to us. So when they get off the bus, we can call or text them. We have a way to communicate with them, and that is the primary function of, or primary reason of why they need the phones in the first place.
see, that makes total
So
sense, and I think if you think about it from a business perspective, what is the primary function that you're trying to, do
mhm.
with your tech? Because
Right.
it's kinda like having a logo, right? You can spend forever like, we just made a logo, with very little effort for this podcast. And
Yeah.
if we later down the road want to upgrade the logo, sure, we can and we will. That's totally cool. But a lot of people will spend time making their logo, spend weeks and weeks and weeks making a logo instead of actually creating content.
And they can pay hundreds of dollars for somebody else to make a logo for them, and it's not the thing that makes or breaks your business.
Absolutely not.
Like,
Yeah,
where's
I
the
agree.
ROI?
Right. Right. I think people like to get stuck on the Nike swoosh when they're thinking about a logo and think that, oh my gosh, the Nike swoosh was amazing. But I mean, didn't he pay like $50 for that or something? I mean, he
Yeah.
just needed something to
Yeah.
start a shoe company centered around a guy, which was Michael Jordan, right?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that
No.
it's easier to buy tech than it is to do work.
Oh, yes, definitely. Well, and then you get caught, it's the same. So working for yourself, you need an additional level of discipline. So as an employee, you may have been very disciplined and a really great and efficient worker, right? But when it comes
Right.
time to be accountable to yourself, like you don't have to be accountable to a boss or a manager, or you're not reporting to anyone but yourself. There is another layer of, I guess, yeah, like skill that you have to develop in order to do that, because you can make yourself caught up in busy work that does nothing to grow your business or does nothing to earn you money. Because isn't that the reason that you started the business? You need to earn money. You need to pay for bills, you need to pay for food, you need to buy stuff, right? So if it doesn't earn you money, why are you doing it? It's because you were so used to keeping yourself busy as an employee, utilizing the technology to make yourself look busy all the time, right? Like, oh, I
Right.
have
I
to
was
answer
about to
these
say,
emails.
yeah, I think that as an employee too, sometimes we looked busier than we really were,
Oh,
perhaps.
I know I did. I
Oh, yeah,
I absolutely looked
absolutely.
way busier than I really was. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we become professionals at it, and then we start to think we're really good at it, and then when we start working for ourselves, we realize busy and productive are not the same thing.
Oh, no, 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 not at
Yeah,
all. Yeah. I mean, I
and
can I can busy myself. I can think of 1,000 things that I need to get done, but, is it going to achieve whatever my ultimate goal is? Probably not, but it makes me look really busy. Like, it makes me look really good. Oh, I did all sorts of things today. I did ABC, I did EFG.
yeah,
Okay.
and I
Well, at the
think
end of the
tech
day,
can
did you
get in the
get work
way.
done? No.
Right. I agree. And I think tech can get in the way of that because you can allow, it's easy to say, Well, I know that I like in blogging, I know that we didn't publish as many pieces of content today, but I was really busy working on upgrading my computer, right?
Mhm.
And it's easy to blame your lack of productivity on tech. I
Yeah.
think it's an easy trap to get caught into, and you feel like, well, it's not my fault. Well, it doesn't matter whose fault it is in the end. If you didn't produce the thing that you need to produce to make money, then it doesn't
Mhm.
really matter, because what you didn't see when you had that job was all of the stuff going on behind the scenes to keep you functioning, to be busy, all the tech, all the decisions, all the things being worked on along the way.
Yeah. Well, and just to kind of tie it back to, how this conversation started in the first place was we were planning on recording our first podcast episode,
Yep.
right? And then
Yep.
the tech wasn't working.
Nope.
And then once we got one part of the tech working, another part wasn't working. And then something else happened. It would have been really easy for us to just spend the next hour trying to figure it all out. But instead,
Absolutely.
you took action and you were like, I know this works. This is a plugin. We're going to do this. And this is what we're going to do for now. Like, we'll just make
Absolutely.
do with what we have.
Yeah, I absolutely, because when we first started, we couldn't get logged into the software because the you had originally created it, and then username changed based upon something that I still don't know. And
Yeah.
then the password was different, and then we couldn't figure out how to get into the room, right?
Yep. Yep.
And then my microphone wouldn't work, and then my microphone worked, but my headphones didn't work.
Yeah.
So all of that could have just been like, "Hey, never mind. Let's forget it and we'll do it
Right.
next week." Right? But here we
Exactly.
are producing,
Yeah. And
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 it's
that's
the
the whole
hardest
point.
thing.
Yes. It's so easy to get discouraged and focus on the wrong thing because we really could have ended up focusing on, well, we need to get the tech just right. But do
Right.
you? Like, do you need the super fancy setup? No, as long as
No,
you have a microphone to record and the program records it, hopefully that's what it's doing. That's
I'm pretty
that's
sure
all
it
you
is.
need.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not
And that's the other
absolutely
thing.
positive, but I think so. Pretty
Yes.
confident.
There
But it's
there is a red dot in the top left-hand corner. I'm assuming means everything's being recorded right now.
right. According to this, we're at 26 minutes and 21 seconds. So,
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's good to know that there's a little timer there to keep us on
yeah,
track.
totally. Yeah. I don't know if we have a track, but yeah,
Uh, good intentions, right? Like we
absolutely.
intend to have a track, but
Yeah.
we may not necessarily follow it. We'll get off track quite often. You'll come
Right.
to find out.
This is very true. I think that's mostly what we've done. Yeah, I'm still thinking about the fact that telephones are now digital. And what do you
Mhm.
call it? Voice over
VoIP.
IP. I don't know what that
Yeah.
means, but
Yeah, well, that's just what it's called. It's voice over IP. It's a phone line over the internet. Like
so IP, what
that's
does IP
all it
mean?
is. Oh, you have to ask, right? I don't know. Let's Google it.
Okay.
Internet protocol, but I don't know if that's what it stands for in voice over IP.
I bet it
VoIP.
does.
Let's look up VoIP definition. Voice over internet protocol. Oh, I was right.
There you go. Wow. Wow.
So it's also called IP telephony. Telephony? That's a weird word.
Telephony?
Um, yeah,
Teleportation?
TELEPHONY.
Are we
I
going to
want to
eventually
say
get
telephony, but I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
earlier Andy and I went for a walk together, and this is so bad. We have these daily meetings now that she leads, and this week everybody has been late to the daily meetings randomly each day, or for the last week I should say. And she was really getting on their case, and we were on the walk talking about how are we going to handle this, the whole team. Somebody every day is late to these meetings, and these meetings are really important. And we're
Hmm.
on a walk talking about it, and the whole time our phones are buzzing. And they were buzzing because we forgot about the meeting and we were on a walk. And I bring this up because my very first thought was this would be a really good time to have teleportation.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, yes.
And so maybe teleportation will happen through the phone lines like in the Matrix eventually.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's not going to work out, but it's a good idea.
Well,
Um,
I mean, just like thinking about the physics of it all is hard to wrap your brain around. But also, okay, so you guys were on a walk and your
mhm.
phones are buzzing because you guys had forgotten about the meeting. And then you would have liked to teleport back to your house so that you could take the call or you could take the meeting at your
Yes.
desk, right?
Right.
Um, is that because you don't want to get into the habit of taking the meeting on your phone while you're out and about? Like, do you have a dedicated place? Because that's,
Well, yeah,
that's
we
a
do.
boundary, right?
Right. And in that instance, there is some construction happening right next to us that was
Mm,
where we were walking that was super loud. So, excuse me. So even if we had taken the meeting, there's no way anybody could have heard us. So,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. No, but I mean, that's kind of part of the technology discussion, right? Like with technology, it makes us so readily available constantly because you
Right.
are walking around with a computer in your pocket, in your hand, almost 24/7. And so, as a business owner, you've got to set those boundaries with the people that you work with, whether it's your own team members or clients or family members, right? That you've got set times that you will be available and respond to emails, messages and all that kind of stuff because otherwise it can get away from you so easily. And then the next thing you know, you're responding to emails and text messages at, you know, while you're laying in bed trying to go to sleep because now
Don't
everybody's
judge.
used to you well, I'm just saying, like, I am the pot calling kettle black because that was me
Yeah.
for the longest time. Even now, occasionally I'll slip back into bad habits and I'll be in bed and I'll check my emails and things like that. But thank goodness for technology, they are allowing us to set those boundaries too, because my phone separates my work apps from my personal apps.
Oh, wow.
And because it does that, I can set uh, blocks of time where I receive no notifications from any of my work apps. So I have my work hours set to, like 9 to 3:30. So at 3:30, my work apps, they get turned off. My phone
Oh,
turns off my
wow.
work apps and I get zero notifications from any of my work apps. So that's my email, that's, my project management tool, that's the
Yeah.
chats, like all of it gets turned off. And so it creates the boundary or it helps me to reinforce the boundary that I have set. So technology isn't always a bad thing. Technology is incredibly useful if you use it the right way.
Technology is a tool, just like any
Absolutely.
other tool, right? It's just like a
Yeah.
hammer. It's
Mhm.
just a tool. And I think that one of the problems I think with technology though, and what you just said is so interesting. You have a Google Pixel, right? Isn't that what
I
you have?
do.
Yeah, it's like
Yes.
that. Yeah. Um, Technology is integrated into every aspect of our life now. So it
Mhm.
used to be back when I had a corporate job, I left work and then they gave me a phone and I was like, "Oh, shit. Okay." So then I would leave my phone in my car and then the phone got
Mhm.
stolen out of the car. So I was like, "Well, okay, fine." So I left the phone in my purse, but there was still that normal natural separation. But if you are
Right.
a digital entrepreneur like us, um, and you have physical clients too, but still the boundaries do get blurred. So it sounds like the tools, the technology is helping redraw the boundaries. And I think part of that is because the tool creators realize that the mental health is getting
Yeah.
um, down for people. And
Mhm.
so if they don't improve and offer solutions within their tools, then people might just stop using the tools.
Right. Well, so I recently read something that said that burnout is the sign of a much deeper issue. So it's not necessarily just work related. Burnout is your brain's way of saying that it's too much. And especially in this day and age, of course it's too much. We are constantly bombarded with everything, like all the things, whether it's notifications on our phone about different awful things that are happening locally, nationally, worldwide. It's we are not provided the space away from that so that we can process it, because it's always in your face, no matter where you go. Even if you're like, I'm going to leave my phone at home and I'm going to drive to the grocery store. Well, at the
Mhm.
grocery store, over the loudspeaker, they're probably, or over their speakers or whatever, they're probably playing music. Occasionally, it's tuned to a radio station or something. So you still hear
Right?
the news, but then you're surrounded by people that have their devices. And I mean, I'm sorry, but there are some people that don't know how to have private conversations. And so you find
Yeah.
out now like, Johnny over here is cheating on, Missy because this person is on their phone just like talking really loudly on speakerphone about what's going on in their lives, and it's like, oh, I feel bad for them. But that all of that has an effect on our mental well-being, and so burnout is just overwhelm, and not just work
Hmm.
related, but it's overwhelm from the world, or at least that is my opinion.
Well, especially I think that can even come into play deeper for someone like you that's an empath, right? Um,
Yes.
yeah, so,
Ugh.
like, somebody else might hear that conversation and go, "Sucks to be Johnny," whatever, and move on with their
Mm-hmm.
life, but someone like you who has extreme empathy, you're gonna take all of that in as well, so how do you protect yourself from that?
I mean, it's hard, other than just blocking it all out, which you really can't do. Once again, you can use technology to block it out, right? Like they have those earplugs that you can put in, and it's basically like it produces a white noise, so it almost like drowns out the rest of the
Ah, yeah.
crowd. Yes, so that's technology, and again, it is technology being used for good. But like, at what point are we so dependent on all of the technology to just function? And at what
Do you
point
think
does that become a bad thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're having to use white noise technology in your ears to drown out the world,
Mhm.
then I understand how the solution and by the way, what a wonderful tech that was created, like, if you own that tech company, go you. You have good intentions and you've created a new business model. So that's really
Mhm.
exciting from that perspective,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I think this is why meditation has become such a huge
Yeah.
thing in the space, and I don't know how people do that. I can't meditate very well, but that's a different conversation, I think, or maybe the same conversation. I don't know,
I
but
think it's the same conversation.
it probably is. Yeah. Um, I don't know. That's interesting. We'll have to cover some more of that at some point.
Yeah, well, because since you brought up meditation, how do you meditate? Well, there are apps that are easily available. That is
Right.
a
Right. Pick up your
technology.
phone. Yeah.
Pick up your phone and it'll do a guided meditation with you, but really meditation is just being in the present moment. That's all it is. So allowing, because I used to think I would meditate wrong. And I talked about this with my therapist before. I told
Oh,
her meditation
is
doesn't
there a
work for
wrong
me.
way?
Well, so
There's
that's
not a
what I
wr
told her. I said, meditation doesn't work for me because I meditate wrong. And she asked me, well, why do you think you meditate wrong? And I told her, well, because when I meditate, I get so caught up in all of the thoughts that are flooding through my head in the moment. And so she was asking me, okay, well, when those thoughts are flooding into your head, what do you do with them? And I, you know, basically, okay, I think the thought and then I let it go, and then I think the next thought and then I let it go. And she said that is meditating, because you are being in the moment with that thought, like you are
Yeah.
present in the moment with that thought and then letting it go. Like that's all it is. It's about being mindful. So it's mindfulness. And
Right.
it feels like it's wrong because there's this misconception that meditation means that you empty your mind. Your mind is just so calm and,
We're supposed to
you're
be a
so at
monk.
peace. Yeah, no, that's not how meditation works. Like, that's just wrong. So
Right.
I had the wrong definition and I had told myself I was doing it wrong and I believed it. And so that's why I was getting so frustrated with it because I would listen to these meditation apps, these guided meditations that would tell me, oh, clear your mind. Okay, well, you can't actually clear your mind. When they say clear your mind, they really mean just focus on whatever's going through you in that moment. But they don't explain that. And it's so frustrating because for the longest time I was thinking I can't meditate. I'm doing it wrong. But I was actually
Yeah,
meditating
that's
just
interesting.
yeah. So
Well,
I think maybe that's similar to you. Like your definition of meditation is probably
totally.
very different from what it actually is.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Um, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Exactly. So I'm really glad that your therapist helped us both.
Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, yeah, totally. 2 for 1 deal right there. That's great.
That's right.
Yeah.
My therapy
Okay.
sessions are your therapy sessions.
They are now, that's for sure. That amen, I like it. That's really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't even put my phone away at night when I go to bed because now my phone has become an integral part of going to bed because I control my bed with my phone.
Oh my
So,
gosh. Yeah.
yeah. So I
See?
control the temperature of my bed with my phone. So if I get hot, I can turn it down. If I get cold, I can
Mhm.
turn it up, you know. And my bed wakes me up too because my bed is the alarm and I set that alarm on my phone. So, um,
So, once again, to go back to that question, at what point are we so dependent on technology that it's not good anymore? You know, because technology can be used for good, and a lot of people do use it to improve and make their lives more efficient, but at the same time, like, take that technology away, what are we left with? Like, can we function? Can we continue functioning and being productive without
I
the
don't know. It's a
technology?
good question. I'm gonna find out this weekend because I'm going to my mom's and I won't have the internet. So,
Oh, that's
um,
right. So, yeah, actually, this is a great segue into you were talking about because I didn't realize it. Or I guess not, I didn't realize it, but I never really thought about it before. But you were saying that there are places where they don't have internet. Like, it's just not a thing that they
or it's
have.
not as common, right? Totally.
Right.
It's funny because my mom moved from the Austin area to the Northeast Texas area up towards like between Shreveport and Texarkana,
Mhm.
and you go there and there's hardly any people and there's hardly any traffic and it's beautiful and amazing. It's beautiful physically, like the trees are gorgeous and all of that. But these got these big, wide open roads and there's hardly any cars. And Andy and I were like, man, and this is where I'm from. This is where I grew up in that area too.
Yeah.
And I forgot though, because I don't go back that often until she moved. But she doesn't have the internet. And when she bought the house, it didn't even occur to her, not even occur to her to find out who the internet provider was because where she came from in Austin, she had the internet. It was just a normal part of her life. So she
Mhm.
moved to a place that she can't easily she got satellite internet, but it was so horrible and so
Yeah.
slow that it was useless and it was incredibly expensive, so she just turned it off. Um so now we have to plan our trips. We can't like go visit her to do work and hang out there and work for a few days because she doesn't have the internet. So when we go there, it's like going dark because also our phones don't work very well.
Oh my gosh. I was about to ask,
Yeah.
like, well, like in a pinch, you could use your phone as a hotspot or whatever, or do work from your phone. But if the cell phone signal isn't great either, then yeah, like you're going back in time.
Yeah, it's like going back in time, but the thing is, it got me to thinking about there's a whole lot of people outside of the metro areas that still don't have the internet.
We are
So
so
that's
privileged and we
exciting.
don't even
Oh,
realize it.
yeah. I know. Now, for me as a blogger, that's incredibly exciting because that means what are people going to want to do when they finally get the internet? Because I think part of there's some kind of infrastructure thing that the Biden administration passed, and part of it is
Uh-huh.
trying to get internet to rural America. And
Yes.
as that happens, for me, it's great news because that's just more readers. Because one of the first things people want to Google, besides porn, is food, right? Food porn. So,
Food
I'm just,
porn.
that's right. So I'm just right in that world trying to be prepared for these people and what they're going to want. But they're
Yeah.
also going to need a lot of tech help too, because there's a lot of tech they're
Mhm.
not going to understand, which is why I was saying at the beginning of this, do you consider digital tech to be tech? And I do, because if you think
Mhm.
about people who are not used to being online, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to lose their passwords.
Mhm.
They're not going to understand what the passwords are, and they're not going to understand how the internet works.
Yeah, I was gonna
Uh,
say they're the most likely to get scammed in some way, shape, or form
exactly.
because they're just not aware of what's out there and the nefarious people that are trying to steal your identity or trying to steal your bank account information, scam you out of your life savings because you
Right.
just didn't know how the internet works.
Yeah, there's a lot of innocent people that are going to go through some trauma just
Mhm.
because there's a lot of people that have been on the internet for a long time now and I know that a lot of people think, "Oh, but I use the internet on my phone." It's not the same.
It's not the
It's a different
same.
space because you go slower, it's harder to type, you don't do long form
Mhm.
searches. It's a different world when you're doing the internet on your computer. So, it's just
You
an
know, I
interesting thing to think about.
I recently read an article. I don't remember where it was from. I do a lot of doom scrolling. so
We all do. It's
so
okay.
yeah, but so it was something along the lines of if if people are aware of the Nigerian prince scam, right?
Yes,
Then
yes.
why is that still a thing? Or why do scammers use weird symbols in their emails instead of like they look like regular letters but they have like crazy
Right,
symbols and stuff like that
right. So what's
or
the answer?
yeah, so the answer to that is because they they are actually it's a vetting process, and I didn't think about this before, but it's a way to vet their efforts because smart people will notice the typos. Smart people will notice that, okay, yeah, that looks like the letter A, but it's got some weird crap like coming out of the top of the A. So this has to be a scam, right? And what they're doing is they're trying to get to that smaller population that would be fooled by it much faster. So
Well,
essentially, they're
it makes
filtering
sense.
themselves.
That makes total sense because there's what, 7 billion people on the planet? So they
Yes.
only need one half of one half of one half percent to be
Uh-huh.
rich?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
makes
don't
total
need a
sense.
lot. Yeah, they so it's a way for them to do that, but it's also a way for them to bypass the filters that are put in place
Yeah,
to protect consumers because they're avoiding the, like if your email inbox, let's say a lot of people use Gmail, right? So Google has specific filters that if these keywords show up in an email, they're going to flag it as spam, or they're going to at least, segregate it and be like, oh, maybe you should look at this later. It's not going to go into your inbox.
right.
And that's a way for them to bypass those keyword filters because the Google filter is only looking for that actual word, not the word that has the weird looking symbols in it or whatever. So that I thought that was
Fascinating.
just so interesting in terms of cybersecurity and how it can be thwarted by something that seems so obvious. And it's like, well, why do people even do this? Because it makes it so obvious that it's fake or a scam or whatever. But yeah, they're looking for that small percentage of the population that are the most likely to fall for the scam, and that's all they need. They don't need 1 billion people falling for their scams. They just need a couple and trick them into giving them thousands of dollars, or tens of thousands or whatever it may be. But
Right, right.
yeah, it's just a small population is what they're looking for. So they're self-filtering, but I just thought that was so interesting that you think about it, the Nigerian prince scam, and it's like, oh, everybody knows about that. Well, sure. But there are some people that don't. Because, like you said, there are populations that don't have access to the internet. So something that's been around since the late 80s, early 90s, or whatever to us is something completely brand new to them. And that's who they're looking for. That's who they're targeting. And
Yeah,
it's not about being gullible, it's about being uninformed. They just
that's
don't
right.
know.
It's not an intelligence issue. It's just you don't
No,
know about it yet.
exactly.
Yeah.
And they can
Wow.
be very convincing. But I remember reading that recently. I think it was just a couple of days ago actually, and thinking, this is such a great question, because I've always thought about it, really flippantly, like,
Yeah.
oh, well, everybody knows that that's scam or whatever. But yeah, you think about the people that haven't been exposed to technology or the internet, and how easy it would be for them to believe it and fall for it because they don't know any better.
Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. Yeah, I would love to read that article. That's fascinating.
I need to find it. Let me
Yeah.
go through my phone history and see if I can find it.
Yeah. Well, I have to go.
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
good because it limits us.
That's right. That's what I was thinking too. I was like, okay, 50 minutes would be a good ending here. So,
Yeah.
yeah, what do you
Well,
think of our first recording?
I mean, we did it.
We
That's
did
the goal,
it.
right? We did
Yeah,
it.
totally.
So
Yeah.
to the people that made it through this entire episode and
God
are
bless
listening
you.
to the end, God bless you, absolutely. But also just fucking do it. Like,
Yeah,
we did it,
seriously.
and it's going to go out
And
there, and it's not going to be perfect, but you know what? It's done.
that's right. And there's never a good time.
No.
There's
So
never a
just
good
do it.
time. Yeah,
Just do it. I
that's
don't know
right.
what I'm
I
doing.
don't know, but she's singing a song.
How
Okay.
do we end this?
You just say bye and I'll hit stop.
Okay, thanks. Bye.